Welcome to the Self-Care Show with Deidre Sanford. Although holistic and alternative healing methods are becoming more and more mainstream, what method is right for you? How do you find a practitioner once you've chosen to explore an alternative therapy? Each week, Deidre will explore a different modality with practitioners who will explain their modality and the benefits they and their clients have received through their sessions. She and her guests may also offer live readings during the show. Now, your host of the Self-Care Show, Deidre Sanford.
Well, hello, happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Self-Care Show on WLTK DB. I'm your host, Deidre Sanford, and Lee Warner jumped in to see us already this morning. Good morning, Lee. It's fantastic to see you today. Guys, it's Wednesday, July 19th, and I'm so excited about today's show. I feel like so many of us, especially those of us on this network, right? Hey, Amy, good morning. Nice to see you, neighbor. I feel like so many of us on this network and on this show, all of the shows on this network are already walking around with at least one foot in the world of paranormal, unexplained experiences, things that are outside what we generally anticipate to encounter in the day-to-day world. And I love that we're all approaching, hi, Tim, we're all approaching different aspects of the myriad things that we can explore when we take our head out of our TV, out of our phone, out of our grocery shopping, day-to-day stuff, and want to open our eyes, our ears, our minds, and our hearts to possibilities and potential. So I'm ready. I'm super excited to dive into our topic today with Les Velez. And I'm very, very grateful that he's come here or decided to log in with us here so that we can talk about these things. And I want to learn more about what other people have experienced. I want to learn more about what support systems are available. And I certainly want to learn more about what Les has learned, the information he's been able to gather and put together in a bundle so that he can present it for other people who have open minds and open hearts and are looking to broaden their horizons and expand their lives and expand their experience and be open to experiencing the fabulousness and the sometimes kind of mediocre. But certainly we're all equipped with our natural fight or flight instincts. And I want to learn more about how can we prepare ourselves for almost anything, but more specifically today's topic information, and be less in fight mode and flight mode, and just kind of sit with new things and allow things to evolve and meet us where we are so that we can move further forward. It's so amazing that Les has decided to come in and join us today. He's a graduate of the University of Vermont. He's got a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. In 1970, he served in the U.S. Army as a field artillery officer, was later vice president of Luscombe Engineering. It's a Silicon Valley-based manufacturer's representative company. He joined MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, in 91 and has been a field investigator, a training coordinator for field investigators, the assistant state director in Northern California, chairman of the A.E.R.C, and team member of the Abduction Response Team. The A.E.R.C is an Abduction Experiencer Research Committee. Brains I want to pick, information I want, and it's all right here for all of us to share and to learn from today. He was also a facilitator for an abduction support group in San Jose, California. And in 94, he co-founded OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. What a sorely needed association. And it's amazing that Les has agreed to join us this morning. Come on in here, Les. Let's get to it.
All right. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yay, me too. Hey, Teresa, thanks for popping in today. So Les, I just ran through the bio super quick and hit the
Mhm.
highlights of
Mhm.
where you've been, what you've done. Help us get to know you a little bit more on kind of a more personal level.
Sure.
Throughout all of
Sure.
this, what happens in your mind?
Well, you have to kind of go back how this all got started for me. When I was 11 years old, living in Connecticut at the time, I was coming into the house. It was a late October evening, and I saw this object that was hovering over a tree line, totally silent, oval in shape, and it scared the crap out of me.
I can't imagine.
And I ran in the house and tried to get my father to come out. And by the time I convinced him to come out, it had disappeared. And he said, "Oh, it's probably just a beacon of light reflecting off a cloud." Well, I didn't believe that.
Right.
That just didn't make any sense to me. And so I went to the library soon thereafter and picked up a couple of books by George Adamski, who was the big author in those days, back in the late 50s, talking about UFOs and his contact with the Venusians. Well, that was still pretty far out stuff at the time. And anyway, but I was fascinated with the book and the readings, the information that he put forth, and the pictures that were in there of the craft were phenomenal. Um, and so anyway, life goes on. Become an adolescent, and girls were a little bit more important in my life
Right.
than UFOs, and I kind of forgot about the whole thing. And finished high school, went off to college to UVM, and went through the ROTC program, became an officer in the field artillery. After that, got married, soon thereafter, and moved back to Connecticut, and was working for a company as their national sales manager at the time. And so, long story short, in 1985, I had the opportunity to buy into a company, a manufacturer's rep company, Luscombe Engineering, in San Jose. And so we moved out there, which upset my two daughters. One was 8 and the other one 10. So they were not happy with me moving the whole family to California.
Right.
And I picked up the San Jose Mercury News, as it was called back in those days. Now it's just called the Mercury News. And there was an article about this nuclear physicist by the name of Stanton Freeman that was going to come to San Jose City College to talk about UFOs and the government cover-up. Well, it's like somebody threw a switch, and I said, "Oh my God, I got to go see this guy."
Yeah.
And so I went there and expecting to see a handful of people, but the auditorium was packed. He gave an incredible presentation. And on my way out in the foyer, there was a table set up by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network,
Mhm.
which was established in 1969 by a couple of engineers. And so they have a monthly journal that they publish. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to get the journal and I'm going to start reading about these cases. Well, after a while, that wasn't enough. And I decided I'm going to become a field investigator. So I took their course, passed it. And this is when things really got interesting, that almost without exception, the cases that I got involved with were not only people telling me that they had sightings, but they had contact with these non-human intelligences. And I was really kind of a nuts and bolts kind of a guy in
Yeah.
the beginning. And the first case that I had where this person said that, I was kind of scratching my head and going, I'm not so sure about this.
Right.
But I had so many other cases that came up, and they were telling me the same thing, that my window of believability stretched out quite a bit. And so I said, there's something to this. There's something going on. There's a commonality here that seems to be occurring. And these people asked me, did I know of other people having similar experiences? And I said, yes, I do. And that's when I started to facilitate a support group in my office in San Jose. And the stories that came out from the group were just phenomenal. And subsequently, I was written up in an article on the Monterey Coast Weekly paper. This gentleman, this reporter, had contacted MUFON headquarters and wanted to do an article about UFOs and people that are investigating them. And so the director at the time gave this person my name, and he contacted me, and he wrote up this article, and the thing came out, and my head was this, at least that big, on the front page of this paper.
There's
Me looking up in the sky, and UFO investigator Les Velez, and all that stuff. But anyway, after that, a woman contacted me that saw the article and said, "I would love to understand what's going on with my brain when I'm in contact with these entities." And I said to myself, well, how can I possibly help this person? And then she said she was working with an emergency room doctor down in Carmel. And that triggered me, because I had a doctor friend, Dr. Eugene Lipson, that was interested in meeting other doctors that were interested in the phenomena. So I called him up and I told him what was going on, and he said, "Okay, maybe we should go down there." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, let's go down there and talk to this person." So we did, and as we went into her home, there was a picture on the wall, and this was her standing on the back of a vessel in probably Caribbean waters. Was my way of thinking. It was beautiful, crystal clear blue water. And I asked her, I said, "So what's this picture all about?" And she says, "Well, I was helping these treasure hunters." And I said, "Really? How were you helping these treasure hunters?" She says, "Well, I was in contact with the captain of the galleon that had gone down." And so that started the afternoon off with a bang, so to speak. And subsequently, we found out that she had had a near-death experience. And after her near-death experience, she became very psychic.
Mhm.
And she had the capability of connecting with various entities. So we came away from that afternoon, saying, how can we possibly help people like that? And that's when the first thoughts about OPUS were hatched. And then in 1994, as you said in the bio, that we got it approved by the IRS as a 501(c) nonprofit organization. And we've been doing it ever since. And unfortunately, Gene has passed away a number of years ago. And so I'm the last of the Mohegans, so to speak, in the beginning, but we have a great board of people that get involved with us. And as a matter of fact, some of our advisory board members are like Linda Moulton Howe, and Terry Lovelace, Melinda Leslie, Yvonne Smith. And so we have a really good group of board members and advisory board members that help us navigate a lot of this.
That's so amazing. And I love that you're able to approach the onset of the rest of your life, so to speak, from the nuts and bolts perspective. I like hearing the stories from people who walk up as open but essential non-believers, so that as they gather more and more information, they open further and further to embracing the ideas, the stories. And then you take it a step further, which must have been a natural for you, in collecting the data. Really, I mean, we're reducing people's personal experiences into data, and it's necessary, I think. I don't mean that in a bad way, in order to bring out the commonalities.
Yeah, and certainly that was a real thing behind my book, The Unknown Other and the
Thank you.
Existential.
That's kind of where I wanted to go. Perfect.
Right, the existential proposition of alien contact is in the book, covers the physical, the psychological aspects of the phenomena,
Yes.
and there's certainly a tremendous amount of commonality in this process. It's a spiritual journey that these people start on. And one of the things that I've come to understand, and maybe this is my own particular theory about this, is that we've all had experiences, whether we consciously remember them or not. In 1992, the Roper organization did a poll on experiencers, and they found that there was like 6 million people in the United States alone at that time supposedly had contact. And now you move forward in time, and this is a worldwide phenomena.
Yeah.
And one of the things, as far as people remembering or not remembering these experiences, one of the support group meetings that one of the people in the group said to me, "I've seen you before." I said, "Really? At a UFO conference, or
Yeah.
No, I saw you on board the craft."
Oh.
I said, "Really? Oh, that's interesting." And I kind of blew it off. I didn't think much about it. But it was like a year and a half later that a totally different person said the same thing to me. "I've seen you before." And I said the same thing, UFO. No. You were sitting on this bench naked on board the craft, and you were freaking out. And they told me to go over to you to calm you down. And I said, "Really?" So at that point, I decided, based on the previous comment and this comment, that I'm going to go get regressed. And I did. I had 3 separate regressions, and found out nothing along those lines, but I found out that I had multiple past lives.
Yeah.
And reincarnation seems to be a process, and a lot of these people that have had experiences talk about the fact that these entities talk to them about reincarnation as being a process of the universe. This is how the universe works.
I'm into that.
This energy that we have never dissipates.
Right.
It's always out there or in
Right.
here, depending upon where you are in that process. And so that's why I firmly believe now that we've all had an experience, whether we've consciously remembered or not. It's just seems to be the right call, and I go with my gut on a lot of these things too, because we don't have definitive proof. And so that's to me is a big factor that it seems to sit well with me at this point anyway.
Hi, Courtney. I love that idea. And I want to kind of try to clarify the dots on that one. We're talking about reincarnation, past lives, continuing soul energy, and encounters.
Mhm.
So when you say whether you remember your encounter or not, you've probably had one.
Mhm.
Are we speaking of in current lifetimes or in past lifetimes? Or
Well,
potentially both?
yeah, and that's the thing, and that's a good question, because subsequent to that, I a number of years later, I was talking to somebody about this thing, and they said, well, perhaps what this person was tapping into was a previous lifetime
Mhm.
that you were abducted and had this contact, um, which is totally possible.
Yeah.
I mean, time and space, it's all so flexible.
I was going to
Uh,
say relative. Bad
People talk
pun.
about the fact that they're brought back, before they were taken. I mean, it's like, time dilation,
Yeah.
suppression,
Yeah.
things of that nature that are just incredible. That these types of things can be manipulated the way they are.
So from a metaphysical standpoint, we often talk about, meeting people and we just feel like
Mhm.
we've known them forever or we've known them before. They're familiar to us. So I love that this all kind of brings so many of the parts of paranormal as a broad scope statement down into encounters, into the metaphysical world. And you're saying, yeah, it's all connected.
Oh, totally,
I love it.
totally.
I love
You
it.
know, we did a research study called the Omega-3 study that goes back to about 2007, I think it was, 2009 timeframe. And this was part of the process of the A.E.R.C that I was the chairman of. And we took 71 people that claimed that they had contact with non-human intelligences, and
Mhm.
51 people as a control group. Let me read the findings that
Oh, cool.
we came up with. In general, abductees' experiences profile differently than do their comparison counterparts on a number of general psychological and specific neurological variables. Yet there are remarkable similarities between the experiential group and the comparison group. It should be noted that in no case did experiencers or comparison group participants show any signs of mental illness or personality disorder. So these people did not have a psychopathology. So
Love it.
they were totally sane. Fantasy proneness, which a lot of debunkers talk about, does not appear to play a differentiating role between the experiential and the control groups. However, sensitivity to alternative realities and early and recurrent paranormal or psi experiences seem to play a role in the abduction experience. Now, the next thing is kind of interesting. Childhood conflict, psychosocial tension and abuse and trauma more than likely facilitates a dissociative coping style in later life. How much a part dissociation plays in the abduction experience remains an open question. So, and this seems to be something that is another commonality when we talk to these people, that we find out that there's been some kind of trauma in childhood. And a lot of these experiences start in childhood.
That's like okay. So this is cool. I want to dive into this a little bit more.
Sure.
Because recently, as science goes, recently we've started redefining trauma as insidious remarks. Small things, not just the big things that we all are trained to think of as trauma. So when we talk about psychosocial trauma, I think of things as simple as bullying in school. Or is that part of what you all are considering psychosocial trauma in your statements and in your conclusions?
Yeah, I think that any kind of trigger can cause this dissociative coping style. Bullying, those kind of things. Yeah, absolutely. So to move on to the next realization that we came to, both experience with and interest in the abduction phenomena have impact on how one's body is perceived to function, how one views the world and one's purpose in it, and how one defines or redefines one's faith, tradition, and beliefs. In essence, both experience with and interest in contact seem to change one's sense of self and one's worldview. And so many of these people that have had contact come back with some really positive worldviews, and one of them is the fact that we need to be better stewards of the planet.
Right.
We need to be better to one another. We need to be more loving, and these are all wonderful kinds of things to for people to try to espouse to, and I so. When people talk about the fact that all these aliens are negative or they're all positive, I think it's a real mixture. And just like we have here on this planet, we have good people and we have bad people, and same thing is going on wherever that may be. We just finished the first phase of the Omega-4 study, which is brand new, where we actually went out to therapists and try to understand the modalities that they are utilizing to help their clientele. Two of the things that came back high on the list was EMDR, and then the other one was QHHT.
Nice.
Which were the two main ones. And then we also asked about what they were running into. And the number one thing that with these clients was the grays. Number two was orbs. Number three was interdimensional beings, and number four was ghosts.
Of course.
And so, it is just fascinating how all of this is so interconnected.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep listening, keep trying to understand as best you can, because what we found is that this phenomena, generally speaking, in the early stages, is traumatic across the board for people, because it's so different,
far removed from
very far removed from our reality, so to speak. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, but in the respect of we're all one and we're all connected, some of us still have a difficult time grasping that concept.
Oh, sure.
Those of us who have stepped into it and work in it, experience it, I would think that for those of us who've decided that that is our norm, we're more open to this concept that we consider foreign on so many levels, but it's really probably not.
Yeah, I think it's something that is part of a reality that we don't understand, that has
Well,
always been going on for eons. This is just the way the universe works. Uh,
so crazy question, but this has become one of my new favorite questions. And so I've got to ask you, because you just kind of touched on it. Is it as we believe, so shall we see? Or as we see, so shall we believe?
Good question. I think it can be both.
Yeah.
It can be both. Certainly, your background, your upbringing, the things that you have learned in childhood affects how you
Mhm.
process a lot of these types of things. Some people see these entities as demons. Some people see them as angels. It depends on the experience that you're having, because
Right.
luckily what we found is like 70 to 80% of people are having what you would call more positive experiences. And then that other minority, luckily, who are continuing to have very negative experiences. And I think that has to do with a combination of things. Again, is how you perceive things,
Yeah.
based on your upbringing, and so that uh, these people that are continuing to have negative experiences are like in this really bad loop, a
Okay.
thought loop, and that's a thing that we try to help them with and try to get them out of that, by understanding that they're not alone. Number one,
Yeah.
and what Opus does is that we have basically three things that we can provide people with. Um, One is a international online confidential online support group, which we
Sweet.
have almost 400 people in right now that are talking 24/7 about their situation. Um, and these people are literally from around the world. We have them from South Africa, South America, Australia. We even have somebody from Iran in the group, and Europe. So it's an international phenomenon, no question about it. And so this vehicle is proved to be one of the best things, because it's on the internet, so people can, you know contact people anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, type of a thing. And I monitor the site every day along with a couple of other people, to understand what's going on, to make sure it's running okay, there's not issues. The second thing that we offer is a referral network of mental health practitioners and hypnotherapists. And that's something where we're continually looking for more therapists, more hypnotherapists, licensed therapists, certified hypnotherapists. We have a form, which is quite an extensive questionnaire, and we vet these people before we put them into the referral network. And so this has proved to be another thing that we can provide for people. And then the last thing is a relatively new thing that we do is what we call our E.S.T group, the Experiencer Support Team. And these are people that do sort of triage. They're very knowledgeable about these types of things, and they're able to talk to these people when they come to us to understand what it is they're really looking for. And it also gives them a actual voice, somebody to actually talk to,
Yeah.
and which is proving to be very beneficial as well. So yeah, it's been a interesting process to go through this, and uh, luckily, as I said before, that the majority of the people are okay. They're having not super negative experiences, but the beginning stages, as I said, are usually quite traumatic, until they find out that they're not alone, and that once they understand that other people are having ththese kinds of experiences and have gotten through it. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing that we talk about, is the fact that you will get through it. There's, there hasn't been, you know, probably any significant cases where all of a sudden, the person doesn't exist anymore.
Right. So we come back.
Yeah, we come back, generally speaking, yes.
And it seems to me, I think one of the questions I recently heard in an open forum conversation, I was talking about something that I had seen in the sky not that long ago. And then prior also the three triangular shaped, what appear to be ships in Florida in like 2015, 2016. And one of the questions I was asked was, well, did you lose time? I don't know. I didn't even think about that. So is that something that would be common for folks who've had experiences, is to kind of this lost sense of a chunk of time?
Yeah, missing time is one of the factors that people talk about. As a matter of fact, I can give you a couple of examples of the physical effects. And at the top of the list is lost or missing or compressed time, and that
Yes.
that's another factor that seems to be quite prevalent. Audible tones before contact, sudden abnormal silence before a feeling of presence, nosebleeds, unusual marks on the body, puncture marks, triangular marks, dots, surgery marks that heal abnormally fast, or scoop marks, implants, unusual stains on the skin.
Like
This implant thing is really interesting. And again, debunkers talk about the fact, well, there's no proof. There's no. Guess what?
Yeah.
Dr. Roger Lear, wrote a book about alien in a scalpel, and he had 17 patients
Wow.
where they excised these implants. Let me read you what his findings were. And he had this all submitted to really well-respected laboratories for their findings. There's no inflammatory or rejection reaction by the body to these foreign objects. No visible portal of entry. Collections of specialized nerve endings surrounding the object. An outer coating of ceramic biological material. A metallic phase where inorganic metal becomes biological tissue.
Ooh.
The emission of radio waves, which are deep space frequencies in the FM band. So who's listening?
And why?
Yeah, and why? Exactly. Electromagnetic fields in excess of 10 milligauss.
Wow.
Composition of meteoric iron-66, rare earth metals such as U-236, a single isotope of uranium existing by itself, which is unusual, as well as elements such as uranium, which is very rare and hard to find in the Earth's crust. Now, this one is really interesting. Non-terrestrial isotopic ratios indicating the involved elements did not come from Earth.
Wait, can you say that again, please?
Yes. Non-terrestrial isotopic ratios indicating the involved elements did not come from Earth.
So how are they non-terrestrial and not from Earth? Help me understand. It seems to be in opposition to itself.
No. Being non-terrestrial, terrestrial being Earth.
Yeah, okay. Heard it wrong. Process.
Okay. Existence of carbon nanotubes, carbon nanostrands, and carbon nanofibers. Now, this is a technology that we have now, but this person that they took this out of had been in his body for 46 years, which is way before we had even conceived of carbon nanotubes. Okay. Gold spheres, which have unknown function, other than taking it to the bank and cashing it in.
Right. Now, would those be similar to perhaps the spheres that have been documented flying through the air, like kind of like a Quidditch ball, I guess?
Yeah, those are called orbs generally. These spheres that you're talking about.
No, I mean, like the military says they've filmed them. I
saw
it someplace.
Yes.
Those be similar to what you're talking about here?
Well, no, these are very small. These are within the body itself. So these are quite different. Metallic caverns that are no larger than a diameter of one atom. Resistance to ordinary cutting techniques such as metallic sawing or severing with a cutting instrument. One of the specimens had to be cut with a laser. Anyway,
how do you even find out that you would be appropriate for the testing to determine whether or not you have any of those things?
Well, these people, a lot of times they're bothered by the implant. They notice it. for some reason, like Whitley Strieber. He talks about the implant behind his ear, and it was bugging him one day, and he felt it, and so he has not had it removed because basically one of the things we also, when people come to us and say, I have an implant and I'd like to get it removed, we recommend that they don't remove it.
How do you even know that? Hi, I have an implant. How do you know? I'm not making fun. I'm like trying to picture that conversation.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times they may have an X-ray that shows it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Or they feel it. It's near the surface of the skin or something like that. Oh, there's all kinds of ways of finding it. I mean, people go in for a regular checkup or something, or an X-ray, chest X-ray, and they find this object. And what is it?
Right.
So, but what we found is that when people do remove these, a lot of times they get reimplanted in areas that are even harder to get to, because they've been up here in the cranium. They've been found in the nasal passages, in the spinal column, and these are not really fun places to try to dig into, and things of that nature. So there's so much that is happening here that there is proof, and yet for whatever reason there's a conscious dissonance going on, basically.
Absolutely.
That people are just they got to get up in the morning, go to work, come home at night, have dinner, watch TV, go to bed, get up in the morning, go to work, do the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah. I mean, we are creatures of habit for sure. So are these things that you've shared with us as far as documentation, scientific fact, are these somewhat at least covered in your book, The Unknown Mother and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact? I love that name, by the way.
Oh, great.
How can it not help but create an existential crisis of some proportion?
Yeah, and these are the kind of things that there's many schools or theories about what is really happening here. Is this a process that is relatively new, or is this a process that has been going on for eons, which I kind of tend to believe? So if there was going to be some kind of doomsday effect, then it probably would have happened already.
That's what I was hearing in my head as you say that. I'm like, it would have happened already.
Oh yeah, it would have happened already. So I don't think that's the case. I think it just boils down to the fact that we are dealing with this process. This is just part of the universal process that's going on.
One would think that it would be, and probably also somewhat reciprocal in some fashion. I mean, as rumor has it, as gossip has it, as whistleblowers seem to have it, we have been reported to already have some life form here in laboratories. Wouldn't we be doing the same thing?
Well, I mean, there's the theory that it's out there is that Eisenhower met with a group of extraterrestrials, and they made a deal, and that they could abduct a number of people, and then we'd get their technology. Of course, that they didn't hold to their their deal. I guess they've been abducting a hell of a lot more people.
Well,
yeah,
need a wider selection.
I mean, we get 2 to 3 new people almost every other day that are coming to us and looking for help. I mean, what's going to happen now with the revelation that the government is coming out with, it's going to increase. And so that's why it's really important that we come to, find as many therapists as possible that understand this thing, because people are going to be upset, I think, in a lot of respects.
Yeah. I want to talk more about that later. We had Lee, who pops into the show pretty frequently and has a very open mind, is curious to know if there were commonalities as far as those who've had experiences with blood type. She's asking specifically about O negative and Rh factors. Right.
There seems to be a real correlation between Rh negative type people and the O negative group is one of the largest groups that seems to be having contact. As a matter of fact, I have that in the book, well documented as well. So
any theories as to why that would be?
no, but the RH factor is a relatively new factor, a negative factor. Is something like 40,000 years ago it came about, and nobody understands why that's the case, unless it was a manipulation.
Well, and that was going to be one of my questions, and it could have just been a lab mix-up in my end. But at one time in my life, I was told that I was RH negative, and then got the ROGAM injection, but then eventually or moving forward, tested again, and it wasn't negative. So I'm like, now I need a third one so I can figure out what the median answer is. But I was curious about that. So potentially, since it's only been about for 40,000 years, maybe manipulation.
Yeah, and this, one of the things that Dr. Gary Nolan from Stanford University, who's an experiencer himself, as it turns out, talks about the fact that he believes that there probably was some type of manipulation of our DNA, because geologists say that our Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and but he's based on the fact that our DNA changes about every 600,000 years. He said the Earth would have to be a lot older if it went through its natural processing. It would have to be like 9 billion years old. So either the geologists are wrong, or the fact that we have been manipulated so that we are where we are right now based on that manipulation, and where we are as far as our physical abilities. And there's some really interesting things coming about. One of the other things that he did was involved with looking at these people that have excuse me, thank you, more connections in the area between their caudate and putamen, and these people had incredible capabilities, psychic abilities, telepathic capabilities, things of that nature, and that these people seem to connect with other people that have these kinds of traits, and so I think what's really going on is that for whatever reason, we are starting to create a different breed, if you will, of people that have this kind of capability, and eventually those of us that don't have that capability will not be around.
I think that's interesting, and it goes somewhat hand in hand with the conversations that we're having about this time of ascension and changing from 3D to 5D. And I love that there are so many aspects of your field with just a general metaphysical world. I mean, as we said early on in the show today, and as I'm sure you've been saying for a long time, it's all connected. It's all part of the same.
Sure.
We're going to take a super quick station break, and we will be right back. Thanks, everybody, for being here this morning. Stick around because we got more coming up. We'll see you soon.
Are you looking for unbiased and uncensored paranormal and spiritual talk? At WLTKDB.com, we offer several talk shows ranging from self-care to hauntings and everything in between. Find the shows and hosts on our website at WLTKDB.com. You can watch them live or catch up on your latest favorites. While you're there, be sure to check out the store and pick up some of the latest station swag. Did you know we had a station blog, or that you can host your own show? It's all online at WLTKDB.com. Looking to advertise? Check out our competitive pricing and let's get you noticed. WLTK Talk Radio has something for everyone. So be sure to stop by and say hello at WLTKDB.com.
Good morning once again, everyone. Welcome back to the Self-Care Show on WLTKDB. I am your host, Deidre, and our guest today is the amazing Les Velez. Les, thank you so much for being here with us today. We've got questions hanging out over here in the live chat. I want to be able to get to all of them. We're getting close to the end of the show. Sage It, thanks for popping in this morning with your questions. I love the comments. I love the information that we're able to get from listening to and chatting with Les this morning. We had a question that popped up that I think is super intriguing, and I don't think it's surprising at all. We're wondering if these implants are beneficial or detrimental, or whether they're from good or negative. Do we have any idea?
Well, I think that there's been some, again, theories about this, that these are monitoring devices,
Sure.
The pollution levels in our bodies. And if that's the case, then it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But who's listening and who's monitoring?
Right. And
That's the big question.
I love it.
Generally speaking, they're quite benign. However, as I mentioned, some of these are transmitting. And so is this a tracking device of some sort? Is this a device that is, just besides being a tracking device, being some other reason why it's transmitting? We don't fully understand, who's on the other end of that transmission.
Right.
And if we did, then it would be quite a revelation, I think. And one of the things, people ask me all the time is this extraterrestrial? Is this interdimensional? Is this time travelers? Is this our military? And I always say I believe it's all the above.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's just about anything you can possibly think of. And so, Melinda Leslie, who's been on the speaking tour, talking about her experiences with the military, being abducted by the military, and based on the fact that they're questioning her about what she knows about her contacts with these non-human intelligences and things of that nature. So that's going on, and that's not that unusual.
Doesn't surprise me to know that, as much as we don't know, some of the things that we did learn or have learned and so long suspected is a lot of military involvement. Whether it's trying to learn more, trying to put up that shield of secrecy, trying to keep us removed from what's actually going on. It's all kind of so intermixed and so convoluted. Not too surprising.
Absolutely. It's a conundrum within a conundrum.
Yes, I would think so.
Yeah.
We've got the ladies from Just Sage It popped in. Fantastic shop, and a great group of ladies, by the way. They said, as we evolve and become more volatile on this planet, do you think they'll intervene?
Well, that's another good question. I mean, there's been incidents where our nuclear missiles have been decommissioned, so to speak, or put out of commission in Maelstrom Air Force Base. This goes back in the 60s, and where this whole group of missiles were taken offline by this object that came over the base, and so. And also, there's been photographic evidence of a object hitting one of our missile tests and blowing it up. So, what does that mean? Does that mean that they will intervene? I don't know. I mean, if they want to wipe us off the face of the earth, we'll do it for them,
right?
And but. That's still a question that's interesting, and thank you for that question, by the way.
They're a great group of ladies. I love that they brought that in.
Yeah. So, but there seems to be, they have a capability of intervening. Let's put it that way. Sure. They certainly have a capability to do that.
Well, and so do our spirit guides and angels and all of that, but they can only intervene if we ask, right?
Right.
No.
Well, I would like everybody to please pray for the Ukrainians and get this stupid war over with. And oh my God, how horrible that whole thing is. It's just terrible.
It's amazing what we all do to each other.
I know.
We just need to have a kinder world, my heavens. And if we had more open minds, we don't have to accept it, but be open to the consideration of. And I think that applies, most specifically to the things that we're talking about, and of course to war.
Oh yeah. It's something that, can you imagine the amount of money that goes into war equipment and things of that nature, that if it was put into more meaningful things, what a better place this would be. Yeah, it's remarkable. It's remarkable.
Kind of makes me want to go back to the world of utopian societies and the Oneida Colony and everybody just sing Kumbaya and play nice in the sandbox, please.
Right.
My
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, there's too many egos. Actually, the world should be run by women. I think things would be a lot different.
Oh, I don't know. I think some women might disagree with that. We know other women and what they think about.
Okay.
I'm not going to totally negate that statement unless I don't disagree in some respects. But I think one of the wonderful things that has been happening in our society slowly, but has been happening, is more awakening on the male side,
Mm.
as far as understanding that they don't have to be solid brick walls for us and for the rest of society, opening themselves to that softer side.
Right.
I think has been fabulous, and
Open
women
up,
need to do
open
some of
up to your
that as well.
open up to your feminine side. Yeah.
Right. You can wear pink. It's okay. You can wear whatever color you want. Oh my heavens. It has been such a fantastic eye-opening experience chatting with you this morning. Guys, grab the book. Les has provided us with The Unknown Author and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact. It might even have us thinking about, I don't know, tipping a little bit into our own existential crisis, trying to figure out, where do we really fit as a species or as a race, as a collective? Where do you individually fit, and how can all of this work together? Would that be far off? No, open your mind. I think opening our minds can create a little bit of an existential crisis anyway. It's amazing what opportunities are there. And I love that Opus is here. Now, as an organization, are y'all focused more on sort of the extraterrestrial experience, or just paranormal experiences as a broad scope?
Yeah. Our basically our charter is to look at the paranormal, which includes Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, poltergeist activity, things of that nature. However, over the years, it seems like most of the people that contact us are talking about their contact with non-human intelligences. And so that's how it's all come about. However, we have affiliations with other groups that do handle those kind of things, like Mr. Auerbach in his paranormal group that does ghost, poltergeist type investigations and things like that. Lloyd Auerbach, that was, and but yeah, as it turns out, we've just seems like we've just really because of the people that have been coming to us, focused on that. So,
love it.
Yeah. By the way, one quick thing. Any of the sales of the book go directly to Opus. I don't get anything for it. This is my contribution to the cause.
That's fabulous. I love that. It's probably a tremendous help. So go out and get the book. Support the groups.
Yeah, please.
Networks. I love it. I love it. Something I wanted to get my hands on prior to speaking with you today and just wasn't able to get that done. We did get this scheduled in a fairly short period of time, and I appreciate that you were kind enough to choose to join us and chat with us this morning.
And thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, Deidre. Thank you.
If you had the opportunity to share one important message with all of our viewers and our chatters and in the podcasts to come, and just an invitation of sorts, what would you choose?
Yeah, I think what's important to understand is you're not alone. These experiences that you may be having may be quite traumatic, certainly, but you'll get through it. We are here to help. We can, and we hope that you reach out to us. There's a very simple way to do that. Just go to our site. There's a support button, and all you got to click that, And we ask a few questions, and that's it. And then next thing you know, if you want to be in the group, we can put you into the group, or have one of our triage people contact you.
I think it's amazing. And one of the aspects that obviously you all have considered really heavily is that the mental health support folks, the certified hypnosis teams that you're working with, are open-minded and non-judgmental. This is a safe space that y'all have created for people to discuss experiences freely.
Absolutely. We pride ourselves in being neutral. And also once we make the referral, it's up to the client and the provider to work out whatever it is that we don't get involved with that part of it at all. So we just give the person the name, the contact information, whether it's a mental health practitioner or a hypnotherapist, and we step aside. We always ask them to get back to us afterwards to tell us how it went. Were they satisfied with the thing? And so far, it's all been very positive. So I guess we're lucky in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's a specific selection process that has served well, not just the folks together on your team, but also those who come to you guys for support and assistance. Super excited. There are so many other aspects of this that I would like to talk with you about and to share with our listeners at some point in time. But one of the takeaways, I think that there were so many of them, but I think one of the most prevalent pieces that I want to bring forward again before we part ways today is what you said early on in our conversation, and is that I think you said 70 to 80% of the contact situations that you've become aware of have been positive.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's so important that we remember to hold on to that. Just like, everyday encounters with people here on Earth, out in public, doing your shopping, you're going to run into folks that are high vibe, low vibe, everything in between. Not every experience we have with each other on this planet is positive. I think it's unfair to expect that everyone else would be wholly positive as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And that minority, the 20 to 25% that are having negative experiences, it's really rough. The other thing that we found too is that a lot of these experiencers have health issues, significant health issues. And this is something that we're going to be looking at more closely. Whether you've had a positive or a negative, most of the negative ones definitely are having health issues.
Sure.
And,
sorry.
But the positive ones, thank goodness, there's less of that going on. But there's a book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, that talks about the physical effects that people are having coming in contact with these objects, mostly from being in contact with either orbs or an actual craft or something of that nature. So again, here's some physical proof that's going on. So it
takes me back to, it's all connected. And we're back in the metaphysical world in my mind again, because in energy work, energy medicine, however you want to phrase that, we often talk about low vibe energy creating slower movement of our own auric fields, our own energy fields, creating blockages, holding on to low vibe things, trauma, sadness, fear, blah, blah. Holding on to that can create physical dis-ease or physical discomfort or physical disease. Yeah, you know what? It kind of goes back to the human and how they may process their experiences as well, it sounds.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You're triggering a lot of different thoughts right now. And, besides the physical aspects, the psychological aspects of all of this that are going on. And we just want to try to do the best we can for these people. And we don't have a cure-all, that's for sure. But it's a process. It's a process that they're going through. And generally speaking, thank goodness that the majority come out the other end pretty good shape.
I love it. Just like our daily encounters with each other.
There's been so many cases of people being healed by these objects as well. Just the opposite of being, becoming ill, becoming healed. many cases like that.
I'm with you. If you guys want to find more information about Opus, just pop over to the website. It's Opus, O-P as in Peter, U-S as in Sam, network.org. Once again, Les,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing everything that you were able to fit into the 50-ish minutes we had together today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being with you, Deidre.
I'll see you backstage in just a minute.
Alrighty.
Guys, hang around. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I love the information that Les was able to share, and I am even more in love with the idea that y'all came here today to hear what Les had to say. This is your show, folks. Don't forget, you can send me an email. You can jump into the Facebook group. Let me know what you want to see on the show, and I'll do what I can to bring it around for you. We also, oh gosh, somebody mentioned astral travel last week, and we've already got that show booked. It's coming up for you, I think, the end of August. Next week, we're going to continue some of our alien or ET chat right here on the Self-Care Show on WLTK with Leslie Mitchell Clark as she comes to talk some more with us about working with folks who've had encounters. Until next week, thank you once again. Everyone be happy, be healthy, and we'll see you next week. This has been the Self-Care Show on WLTK DB Talk Radio.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.
Thank you.